Kenya is the alternation of Africa. Things that happen in the land of Kenya don't happen accidentally. And they have more influence outside Kenya than they have in Kenya.
One Kenyan has also been making headlines in London for all the good and right reasons. KTN's Timothy Otieno reports on a 19-year-old Kenyan girl who about a year ago shocked everyone by winning a political seat in the heart of London, where many of her age mates would otherwise never have stood a chance.
At the Commonwealth Secretariat head office in London, a crucial online and physical meeting is taking place. At the heart of it is Kenya's ongoing political unrest that is shaping conversations all around the world, including here in England's capital.
You will be arrested, my boss.
Instead of us fighting corruption, going after corrupt cabinet secretaries, going after corrupt governors, we are here trying to overtax citizens. Mr. Speaker, the population of this country, 70% are GenZs.
And that is exactly how the GenZs, who create a larger majority of the Kenyan population, made June 2024 a month that will go down in history. Millions of them poured in the streets, courtesy of Reject Finance Bill, to question a government that clearly has not a revenue problem but an expenditure problem. Why would we keep being overtaxed for people to overspend? And that became the biggest question. And so this finance bill simply gave them space to occupy that parliament and push people out, because people sit there and come up with legislation that is not user-friendly. That is the challenge.
We are inside an ambulance, they've just tear-gassed everybody after we found one guy who was...
And on that fateful day, when young people poured on the streets, Kenya has never experienced anything like peaceful picketing or demo. Young people began to get shot because they wanted to occupy parliament. Why parliament? Because they felt like that is where all the draconian laws are passed. And why wouldn't people support us? Listen.
This is now what has happened, So hizo zimetoka wapi?
Check hapa hivi, check mtu wangu. Amepata kusikia.
This. A young Kenyan.
One tired young man who carrying bullets was aware that I am ready to die. Why did he want to die? Because he felt like his fellow young people were being shot when he had something to do.
At the center of this all-important meeting is 20-year-old Cycia Manwa, who's making her debut in moderating such discussions.
I open up the floor to people sat around the table here and also online.
She's among the next crop of leaders here in the United Kingdom who are taking their place at the round table of this country's political future. She hopes that her input today will help motivate Kenyan youth back at home to do the same. How important was today's session, in your opinion?
I think it was pivotal. I think it was intrinsic that we had a platform for young people to actually come together, a safe space, most importantly, where people can come and air out their grievances, give their opinions, discuss and debate, hear different opinions.
Put them in a waiting room.
But her role here extends to much more than just moderation. You see, last year, at age 19, Cycia became London's youngest elected councillor. She represents a ward in East London that statistics show is comprised of 82% of white voters and residents.
I'd always been quite an opinionated person, if I'm honest. I'd always have debates with my dad and my parents who are adults. And a lot of them would be thinking, this girl is 13, 14 years old. How is she debating on some of these issues? Why is she even interested? But I've always just kind of had that passion. And once the lady who held my seat previously, she lost the seat, but she'd had it for 12 years. And she was like, I want to step back from politics. She just suggested it quite, the brush of the hand. Why don't you run?
And ran indeed. While a young lady who was just 19 years old ran for office in London and became the councillor, in Nairobi, young people were running on the streets, scared of bullets, rubber bullets,
This
fighting
is
by
Holy
police,
Family.
even in church compounds. Tear gas canisters were lobbed and young people began to die. Why? Because they were ready to occupy
Kenya is
Parliament.
burning, Nairobi
This
is
is
on
the state,
fire.
sadly, about this country, Kenya. We began to witness gunshots from a sniper who targeted the feet or the ankles of the young people, and agitation became even worse because young people began experiencing live bullets fighting for what they are so passionate about. And this is what the government wants a dialogue about, and the young people say no, because the government knows what it should do, and here is the story.
You know what shocks me, Mr. Speaker, is that what is this thing that really pushes the president so much when blood is pouring out there to want this bill to be passed?
In May of 2023, she did run and overcame two tough opponents to become the elected councillor of Tilbury, Riverside and Thurrock Park in London.
Cycia Manwa is duly elected.
She won the seat with a narrow margin, edging out her closest political rival with a mere 35 votes.
I'm really happy to again thank you everyone. Tilbury, you won't regret it. The youngest councillor.
If not moderating high-level panel discussions, Cycia is focusing on her studies at the London School of Economics, where she's undertaking her bachelor's degree in politics and international relations.
My name is Cycia Manwa, but I usually go by Cici, and I'm a councillor, so I'm Councillor Cycia Manwa. I'm 19, and I currently serve the ward of Tilbury, Riverside and Thurrock Park under Thurrock Council, which is a council in Essex. And so a councillor, the role of it really is to serve your local residents, your local constituents, for lack of a better word, even though I serve a ward, not a constituency. A smaller version of a constituency, to like put it in simpler terms. So most towns and like cities are split up into lots of different like little wards. And so my role really consists of, on a day-to-day, casework, responding to emails from residents, visiting residents, either in their homes of residence but in a place that's suitable for both of us. I attend council meetings. Last night I was at a committee meeting for a committee which I sit on called a corporate parenting committee, which essentially deals with foster children and the council's role for looked after children. So, wow. Oscar.
And so, the era of young leadership is already here, at least for the residents in East London, where Cycia represents. And she believes Thursday's general elections is crucial for the hope and future of young people in this country.
There's a lot at stake at this election. And in terms of the direction and the future of Britain and where we want Britain to be in the future, it's important for voters to consider, okay, how does my vote align with my values and how I want Britain to be in the future? Political leadership for me is the ability to inspire the people that you're serving. It is about serving others. Leadership in of itself, it can be very easy to get quite self-absorbed and like egotistical because you're given a certain level of power, like when you are in a political like leadership role. However, to me, leadership is more to do with serving your community, the people that put you in the first place, because assuming we're talking about a democracy here, you've been voted in. So.
And so, while in London, young Kenyans are making a difference through servant and political leadership at just 19 years. In Kenya, the young people have been forced to occupy churches and claim for their rights and sing for what they believe in, because that is how deep the young Kenyans have been pushed. Meanwhile, our legislators are in parliament having a time of their life, working out only things that benefit them. And on social media, they are proving to us how extravagant they can be with fundraising millions, big expensive cars, very amazing watches, shoes and clothes. Yet their young people continue to be jobless, continue to have no opportunities and have no say in whatever things that they need to do in the governance of this country. And that is why even in church, they continued to shout, Ruto must go. That is the president being called to leave office because 2 years down the line, people cannot see anything that has been done apart from the noise and more noise and more noise. And apart from the noise, it is tax and more tax and more tax. But how are you spending that tax money? How are we growing? How is the nation developing? That's the big question.
For Kenyan-born Professor Louis Franceschi, who serves as the Assistant Secretary General for the Commonwealth Secretariat, Cycia represents more than just young leadership.
Young people are not, as we say sometimes when people tell me, oh, this generation is useless, they don't want to be involved, they are not. I said, no, wait a minute. I mean, here you have a person who is very young, in her 20s, is fully involved, is living with problems that affect the young and the old, and is able to communicate.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion that the Senate of the Republic of Kenya should adjourn. And in fact, I'm just nearly coming short of saying this House and government should be dissolved. Because we have failed and we are cowards, let us not lie that we are not cowards. Mr. Speaker, what is leading this country right now are citizens' assemblies. Recently, there was a citizen assembly through the space of Twitter, or X. It brought about over 1.2 million people to listen. This country, Mr. Speaker, is going through a crisis that is unheard of. This is a crisis, it is a fire that has been lit up by the IMF, and we know very well that IMF does not put out fires in countries, it leads them. Mr. Speaker, the only thing that makes sense today is for us to be with our citizens and try to demystify what is happening in this country. Mr. Speaker, let us call a spade a spade. We have failed as this country. I was asking myself, how powerful can a person be such that over 200 members of parliament who are elected by people to come and represent them cannot reason. They cannot use their medulla oblongata. They just go in as like sheep. They follow. They cannot ask, what are the consequences? What are the unintended consequences? Mr. Speaker, what am I going to be doing in this House?
Just from my experience in politics at 19, I think people want a leader that can be honest, be truthful. They want some level of transparency and accountability.
Yeah.
I think political leadership is very easy to kind of get into the role and, as I've said, kind of think about furthering your own ambitions and your own like self-serving kind of goals.
Yeah.
We don't just need one leader. We don't just need one inspiration. What we badly need right now is that collective spirit. And I know that those young people, those hope carriers, are gathering around the world. Because history shows that whenever progress is threatened, and the things we care about most are in question, we should heed the words of Robert Kennedy, who spoke here in South Africa. He said, our answer is the world's hope. It is to rely on youth. It's to rely on the spirit of the young. So young people who are in the audience, who are listening, my message to you is simple. Keep believing. Keep marching. Keep building. Keep raising your voice. Every generation has the opportunity to remake the world. Mandela said, young people are capable, when aroused, of bringing down the towers of oppression and raising the banners of freedom. Now's a good time to be aroused. Now's a good time to be fired up.
Very powerful words from President Obama. Kenya is an amazing country. Its people are proud. Our problem is strategy, leadership, and governance. That is where the problem lies.
And our responsibility as Christians in this nation is to ensure that we keep the nation blessed. The Bible says that by the blessing of the righteous, the city is established. It says, but it is overthrown by the mouth of the wicked. So if the speech of the wicked outweighs the speech of the righteous man, the city will have no stability.
Kenya, Igwe, you are the master.